Vic, thank you so much for joining me today on the Gentleman's Collective podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, James.
Absolute pleasure. Now, for anybody that isn't familiar with you, how would you describe yourself and your journey up to this point briefly?
I started from very humble beginnings. I didn't go to college, didn't come from money, grew up middle class, and through a lot of hard work and persistence and perseverance, I built the largest medical sleep testing company in the United States.
So today, being an entrepreneur is kind of like being the new rock star. I think a lot of young men and teenagers, they've decided
everybody's an entrepreneur these days. Everybody.
Yeah. When you got into it, obviously also medical sleep testing, not necessarily the sexiest industry that people might think to go into starting from scratch. What was your journey to get to that point, like from school onwards?
I've always been a healthcare entrepreneur, and, somebody had sent me an email about a medical sleep testing device back in 2011. And I thought that I could really build a business around that, knowing that healthcare was pushing in a direction of more stuff being done at home. So you can see, these days with all the Fitbits and the Whoops and all the stuff going on, everybody wants to try to diagnose as much as you can at home, or, avoid having to go to a clinic or a hospital or whatever, just to save time. And so I thought that, I kind of went all in and said, okay, I think that the sleep industry is going to really push towards being testing for sleep apnea. I don't know if you know what sleep apnea is, but it's when you can't breathe at night for 10 seconds or more. Mm-hmm. And so, it was a bet, it was a gamble. I thought that, this was going to be the next thing as far as the shift in the industry. And, it took many, many years. I mean, I started in 2012, and it didn't really, kind of hockey stick for us until 2018, 2019. So those many, many years of just, it wasn't popular, it wasn't great. We weren't making any money. We lost money from 2012 to 2018.
Were you always working for yourself, or did you have a phase in your life when you were doing the 9 to 5 and decided that wasn't for you?
I pretty much was always working for myself. After I sold my first company, I believe I was like 29 years old. I sold it for $9 million, didn't make any money, made maybe 200 grand. That's a whole nother podcast. But I made a lot of entrepreneurial mistakes and over leveraged myself and owed too much money back and all this stuff. And so I found myself literally, having to start over again. And I worked for the private equity group that had purchased me from the time I was about 29 to maybe 33, 34. And I was basically doing the same thing I did before as an owner, but I, was now working for this private firm. And so I did that for about 4 years. And after that, I started Blackstone.
So before Blackstone, that was really your second company. Mm-hmm. What were some of the lessons that you learned from the first one that you applied this time?
So many. I think one that really pops out to me is just really, really following your gut. And, if it feels right to you, it feels right. And if it doesn't feel right to you, it's not right. And I remember going against all of that in my earlier career, and every one of those decisions that I made that I knew just didn't feel good, but I was listening to the people around me, it didn't end up well. And so for me, that was probably one of the biggest takeaways, when I started my second company was, look, if I fail, I fail, but I want to fail knowing that every decision I made felt right.
For a young man who's in business, it can feel hard to strike the balance between a healthy attitude towards risk and, as you say, over leveraging yourself. Having been through that and also seen people that have done probably both ends of those extremes, what advice do you have for actually finding that right appetite and balance of risk and belief in yourself?
Well, James, I think, there's this idea that entrepreneurs are very risky, and I would kind of challenge to say that I don't necessarily think most entrepreneurs are as risky. I think that most entrepreneurs take a very calculated approach to things, much like a bank would, like, is there a market opportunity? Do you have a competitive advantage? Do you have a patent? Do you not? What's the service level? What's the product offering? What are you selling? All of those things, is it scalable? Is it not scalable? All of those things kind of go into an entrepreneur's head as it relates to, okay, I'm going to now kind of go all in on this venture. I think that most entrepreneurs do that. Okay, now obviously you have your entrepreneurs that they wing it, but most savvy entrepreneurs, I wouldn't say, are as risk, adverse. Like they're risk adverse in the sense that, they don't want to take an unnecessary risk. So I think it's more calculated, number one. Number two, I think that the entrepreneurs that are successful, that take the calculated risk, they have to be comfortable with ambiguity, because you don't know what's going to happen and you don't know what you don't know. So you got to be really comfortable with just not knowing if you're going to make it, if you're going to get the contract or not, if you can make payroll, if that's going to happen or this is going to happen. There's so much ambiguity. And I think it continues as you kind of excel as an entrepreneur. The ambiguity just gets bigger, but you've got to be really comfortable with ambiguity.
How closely related would you say your personal finances and your personal lifestyle are with the success of the business in the early stages?
What do you mean? Like?
Well, I feel like on social media today, we see quite a disregard for personal finances among entrepreneurs. You see 21-year-olds buying Rolexes and driving Lambos, whereas when I talk to older business people, they would say, I was driving a Honda till I was 40 and I sold my company.
Yeah, I think the access to stuff is just easier these days. Getting a Lamborghini is easier today than it was probably 10 years ago. Number one. Number two, I think that, most entrepreneurs are, they're feeling this pressure that they've got to make $1 million a month. It's all social media driven. It's like, unless you're a billionaire and you got a plane, you're absolutely worthless, right? That's the message. If you're not a billionaire and you don't have a plane, everybody's a billionaire these days. It's hilarious. But, unless you're a billionaire and you got a plane, you're a worthless human being, right? You're worthless. You're a worthless human being. If you're making $1 million a month, or if you're making $100,000 a month, you're barely cutting it, in social media. And so I think you've got a lot of entrepreneurs these days, and it's really tough. Is they're feeling this pressure of like, man, I've got to show up here. I got to have my Lambo, and I got to have my Rolex, and I got to be flying private and all this stuff. And that's just the wrong way to go about it. Number one, like you can't give into the peer pressure of social media telling you need to have this or you're worthless.
You've spoken before about draining the swamp in terms of the online content, and there's a lot of businesses. Well, people talk about being an entrepreneur, but really it's just an Instagram page.
Yeah.
What do you think people need to know about actually building a company that has the ability to be sold and building something bigger than yourself?
Well, I think it's not easy. And I think in social media, you don't really see a lot of people that are building companies. They're building funnels, and this thing and that this clickbaity thing and that clickbaity thing, and that's very. It's a very short-lived process, right? Like, it's a very short-lived cycle, like in the sense that nobody's going to buy your ClickFunnels. And I think everyone is trying to cut corners in entrepreneurship. Like, there's no get rich quick. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't. And if you really want to create wealth in your life, you need to really think about helping other people through your product or service, which is building a company that services a lot of people, that has a great value to other people. And if you do that, you'll always be wildly successful. But if you don't follow that recipe and you want to try to shortchange it and charge people $29 a month for your webinar or whatever, I don't think that that's sustainable, nor is it really creating wealth.
When you were forging your business, this was kind of early social media, but before a lot of advice about business was on social media. So where were you learning from, and what kind of people were in your life that served as mentors and guides?
Well, I think, I get my information from a lot of places, and I vet in a lot of information that I get, and I figure out, okay, how useful is it, number one. The other thing that I always do is I really only take advice. Like, I take advice from a lot of people. I always make my own decision, always. Like, it's always got to, kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, like, it's got to feel right, to me. Like, it's got to feel right. I just can't do something because the best person on the planet told me I needed to do it. Like, it doesn't work like that way for me. So for me, what I've always done, and I recommend this and I talk about this all the time, is I only get specific advice from somebody that's done that thing. And that's really hard to do, because there's a lot of people that sound very sophisticated and seem like they have a tremendous amount of experience and value in something, but they've never done that particular thing. And so I think you have to really surround yourself with a lot of smart people that have a diverse background that can enable you to be able to seek, it's kind of like going to the library and you got to pick the specific book, and you want to know about, metaphysics, or you want to know about different alloys, or you want to know about different topics and subjects, and the difference between a V8 engine and a V10 engine. You got to be able to get that specific book. And there are people out there that are very specific, as an example, that I think you need to seek out and find, that are going to help you with whatever it is that you're trying to do, as opposed to getting advice from somebody else that's never done it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are things that you might really admire about one particular guide, but you don't want to be like them in this other domain of their life at all.
Mm-mm.
Talk us through some of the early days when you were starting at your kitchen table, and a lot of people feel like it's not ready. I think a lot of people procrastinate on their business because they feel like this feels too amateurish, this feels too crappy, this isn't what it's meant to be. How did you kind of push past that and just get started with whatever you had, whatever means necessary?
I didn't have a choice, man. I didn't have a choice. I needed to eat. I needed to survive. I was coming from the bottom of the bottom. Mm-hmm. I didn't have anything. So for me, the sooner I could get started, the better. And so I didn't have the luxury of like plan B. What was plan B for me? Like, I don't have a college degree. I don't, I'm kind of just, I'm operating on my wits and my instinct and the information I have in my mind and pure, will. So for me, it was like, I need to start yesterday. And maybe that's where a sense of urgency for me comes from too, is like, I've never had the luxury of waiting. I don't even know what that is.
When you look at people that you went to school with, what would have been like the expected path for you?
What do you mean? Like, what did people want me to be?
Yeah, well, like, you said, I didn't really have a choice. If you didn't have that kind of drive in you, what was the path of least resistance?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think, if I wasn't an entrepreneur, I'd probably be in the military. I'd probably be like a Navy SEAL or something like that. Like that indicates for me, like, I didn't want to be a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer. I just, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. There were a lot of people that, as I grew up, were doctors and lawyers and engineers and things like that. But I never envisioned that. It was just not something I envisioned for myself.
Mm-hmm. So talk us through a day in your life in those early stages when you were building the business, from when you woke up to when you went to bed.
Pain. It's pain. Lots of pain. I mean, every day was negative. So like when I was starting from 2012 to 2000, almost 17, 18, it was negative every day. I mean, like 10 years ago, I was making $800 a week.
Uh-huh. So what would be painful? Like, what would be the negative things happening?
Couldn't pay anything. Could barely pay anything. Couldn't go anywhere. Couldn't do anything. If I couldn't do anything. Like, it wasn't like I was going to a nice restaurant on the weekends. Mm-hmm. There was no money for nice restaurants. People today, like in their 20s, are going to like freaking, the best restaurants and all this stuff on Instagram. You see all that. I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't go anywhere for like 7 years. Mm-hmm. There was no holiday. There was no vacation. There was no nothing. It was work. It was get up and work. What are you doing on the weekends? I'm working. And I had friends that were doing well and doing stuff and going out and going to nice restaurants and going away to Mexico for a weekend or whatever. And I didn't have it. Mm-hmm. I didn't have it.
At that time, were you mad about that? Was that fueling you, or were you accepting that as part of the journey?
I wasn't mad about it. I think that I knew, like, look, if at the end of the day, I know I'm a smart guy. So if could I go out and get a job making a bunch of money? Yeah, I could do that. So it didn't make me mad. I think if anything, it just drove me. It drove mm-hmm. me tremendously to be like, I don't want to always live like this.
And how much of the drive would you say came from wanting a certain lifestyle, and how much was it just playing the game and wanting to build this empire and to be able to be proud of what you've done?
I would say 90% of it is playing the game and being proud of what I built. Like I never, like when I started Blackstone, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I want to build this company because I want to make a boatload of money and I want to do this and do that. And that was never even in my universe. Mm-hmm. That was never in my universe. What was in my universe was this: I want to win. I want to win, and I don't want to work for anybody. I want to be my own guy, and I want to win. And I had to bet on me. I was like, okay, when I look in the mirror, I see somebody that has a lot of persistence and street smarts, and I have an ability to learn and I have an ability to communicate, and I feel like that's kind of all you need, and a willingness to learn and be a student of life and to learn things and understand things. And so I felt like if I had that, which I knew I did, then the question was, hey, how can I not be successful? If I wasn't successful, then it was on me. Mm-hmm. It's like if I'm 6'10" and I can't dunk a fucking basketball, it's on me. It's not because the rim is too high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that to me, I never wanted to be that guy at 85 years old. Like, man, shit, I could have fucking smashed it. I could have dunked the ball and I never did.
Yeah. If you're enjoying this podcast, you might like to know that we also have a private members club for like-minded modern gentlemen all over the world. You'll find the link to apply in the description. It sounds like this was like always part of your identity, and you saw yourself in the mirror and saw that 6'10" guy, albeit mentally and
oh yeah, man. I've been chasing this
Yeah.
since I was 9, dude. I've been chasing this shit since I was 9 years old.
Do you feel like sometimes you look back on your childhood or your teenage years and you kind of see the thread throughout all of it? Because for me,
absolutely.
I'm starting to realize that now. Like, I was always a content creator. It's just when we were 6, making your own CD or sticking a magazine together was not called content creation.
Yeah, you making your own mixtape. Yeah, I get it. I did the same thing, man. But I knew since I was like 8, 9 years old. I remember telling my dad, I think when I was 9 years old, if I had a business idea, would he invest with me? I was like 9 years. I remember it clear as day, sitting on the couch, and he was like, "Yeah."
For people that don't have that kind of inner sense of identity, or they have one and they are not happy with it, they want to change it, how do they figure out like who they do actually want to become?
That's a great question. You know, I think a lot of people struggle with that. You know, I've been very fortunate. I've never struggled with that. You know, I've always kind of knew, you know, kind of who I was and who I wasn't. And I always kind of knew what I wanted. And I remember being younger, you know, and people telling me like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. I look at them like they're crazy, because I'm like, how do you not know what you want?
Yeah.
You know? And so I've just been fortunate. Like, I've never dealt with that. I've never dealt with like depression. I've never dealt with any of those things. And, you know, I'm just fortunate. But, you know, I think that, you know, most people get jaded and feel like they've got to take somebody else's game or somebody else's identity. And I feel like that happens a lot today with social media. That's why I personally don't watch social media, and I don't watch other people much, because I don't want that to kind of rub off on me. You know, like, it's kind of like if you're writing a book, most authors that are writing a book are not reading 3 books because they don't want it to influence their work. And so, you know, I kind of press on people to kind of limit the amount of content that you're consuming, because it does kind of mess with you a little bit, and it kind of throws you off. Next thing you know, you want to be, you know, I don't know, a pilot or this or that, and you had no thought about it, but now you just think it's cool. Well, you know, like, I never got jaded. I wasn't like, hey, I want to be a businessman, and then, you know, the next week I wanted to do, I don't know, I wanted to be a lawyer or something. Like, that never happened to me.
Yeah, I think social media allows us to vicariously try on these different experiences and personalities, and they all seem better than our current situation.
Yeah, it always seems better, right? Always,
Yeah.
man, always. So you got to remind yourself, like, no, that's not true, man. Not true.
Now that you have a very big personal brand, and I'd imagine that most people that follow you are either thinking about entrepreneurship, or they'll never actually do it, or they've struggled. What are some things that people ask you a lot, or problems that people come to you that you think, damn, I never even considered that?
I mean, the typical question is, what's the one thing that you did? And
I hate that. You hear that on every podcast. What's the
one piece of advice? And what's the one thing that you did that was so blah, blah, blah? There's no one thing, man. There's no one situation. There's no one thing. It's a culmination of many things that have to happen, or that happen, and each one of it kind of either molds you in the right way, or takes a bite out of you in some way. But there's no one thing. There's no one thing. And so, you know, I think if you're asking, you're not ready. If you're asking, you're not ready. That's just the simplicity of it. If you're asking, I didn't ask anybody. I didn't ask nobody shit. I didn't ask nobody nothing. Hey, what's the one thing? I was like, I got to fucking do this, or I'm going to fucking be out in the fucking street. There's no one thing. That was my one thing.
I think it's a form of procrastination, isn't it? You know, you're looking for everything to make sense before you go ahead, and you have to accept that things are going to be messy at the beginning, and there's going to be failures, and it's not going to feel like right all of the time. You know, as you mentioned, it's going to be painful.
It's painful, very painful. I don't recommend it to people. I really don't.
Well, for somebody that is, let's say, he's a young man thinking of going to college or he's graduating, how does somebody know if they actually are built for this, if they actually should be an entrepreneur?
Because you're not asking.
So if you second guess it, probably not for you.
Not ready. Yeah, you're not. Yeah. Like none of these guys, like, you think Zuckerberg was on the fence about leaving college and starting Facebook? He went on the fence. He was like, "This is what I'm doing." So if you're second guessing or you're asking, you're not ready.
I think another approach into it, I'm curious to get your perspective on this, is I didn't start doing what I do thinking I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I just wanted to start a YouTube, and then that snowballs, and then, you can make money on this thing. And then there are other people that are making way more money. They have this. They call themselves an entrepreneur. I guess I'm that now, you know? And I quit my job. I guess that's happened to me. I think people should explore those passions a bit more, that maybe they're not even doing it for the money in the first place, but the potential is there.
Yeah.
What do you think some of the biggest opportunities of today are for young people in entrepreneurship?
I think it's way more than it was 30 years ago. I mean, with everything coming out with AI and robotics, and it's just endless. It's endless. Like there's no shortage of ideas. There's no shortage of business plans. There's no shortage. And, you know, it's kind of like you have so many tools now as an entrepreneur, you know, like so many tools that you didn't have 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that, you know, you got stay-at-home moms that are entrepreneurs. You're an entrepreneur. Like, you have people that are entrepreneurs that are making money, you know, staying at home, making money. Like, you couldn't do that 20 years ago. Not at the level that you do now.
What are some, perhaps in the kind of Instagram entrepreneur age, do you feel like there are some more old school principles or lessons in business that people have forgotten?
Yeah, I do think that, you know, kind of like, you know, with your brand, right? Like kind of this, you know, modern gentleman. Like, I think what's lost is the whole face-to-face aspect of business. Like the whole having a face-to-face, shaking somebody's hand, having a conversation, not on Zoom or Teams or FaceTime, like in person, the personal touches of things, writing somebody a letter, sending them a letter, you know, all of these things I think are getting lost because we're living in this, or pushing more towards this kind of digital culture where it's like, you know, nobody sends a letter anymore. I don't even think people send flowers anymore. I don't know. Like, I send my wife flowers all the time, you know, and it's like, nobody does that, right? It's like maybe they send a digital bouquet or something. I don't know. But point is like this whole personal touch. Like, I write letters to people like in cursive, you know, like people don't write anymore. And there's this just out of touch. And now it's like, hey, we have a problem. Let's get on a Teams call or a Zoom call. And it's like I hate like this thing, like the phone, like the text messaging and all this stuff. Like, I hate it. Like, I wish I don't really use, like, I call, like, hello, like I call, like, I don't want to text and email and all. I'm not an email guy. I don't like to read a, you know, freaking long ass email. Like, I'll just delete it. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm not just sitting there reading something that could be condensed into, you know, a couple of sentences. But my point is that this whole style, this traditionalness is lost, is getting lost.
And I think that is actually a big opportunity for businesses this year. Is we've got so saturated with everything being digital that if a company is able to go from just existing in e-commerce and social media and actually be a tangible part of somebody's life, like face to face, or so they can hold it, that's what I'm really excited about. And you think about my generation and the generation below, there's no more novelty to be found on the other side of a screen. That's everything now. The novelty is getting something in the mail. The novelty is meeting somebody face to face. I think that's actually where there's some really exciting opportunities this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, the percentage of even people in dating, like the percentage of people that meet face to face now is like it's a small percentage. Like everything's done digitally over an app.
Yeah. When I tell somebody we met in a bar, it's like, what? Wow, that's so old school. It's like something off Seinfeld, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Let's talk a little bit. I know that you think it's important and you share like your wife and your family on social media.
Yeah.
What kind of role was dating playing for you when you were an entrepreneur? Like, was this something that you were kind of putting to one side and not really focusing on, and it happened by accident? Like, what's the story there?
With what?
With dating and how you actually ended up meeting your wife.
So real funny story, but I was in 2015, I was like broke, right? I'm living in this like 1-bedroom apartment with no furniture. I got a mattress on the floor. Like I didn't have nothing. Like when I say no, I didn't have anything. Like I could pack all my shit up in a car and that was it. That's all I had.
Where were you, by the way? What city?
Tampa.
Okay, cool.
I was in Tampa. And then so I came home one day and I walk in and I see this really beautiful girl, and that was Huli. She was cleaning the apartment because she had just moved here from Colombia and she didn't have her working papers yet, and so she was cleaning houses.
Okay.
And so we met, we connected and we stayed in touch. And it wasn't until 4 years later did we reconnect, and we reconnected and we've been together ever since, and we got married. We've been married now for 6 years, and we have 2 beautiful kids together. We have one coming in a couple of weeks.
Oh, congratulations.
And, yeah, thanks. And yeah.
That's beautiful. So aside from that chance encounter, was dating something that you were, really interested in and involved in at that time?
I think that for me, I was always like, when I was younger, I wasn't in a good headspace. Like I was obsessed with trying to make it. I was obsessed with trying to get somewhere. I mean, I was trying to survive. So as much as I wanted to, it never really worked out because I couldn't get myself in the right position mentally to be able to say, okay, I want to be in this, kind of committed relationship. And, I think being in a committed relationship is great, and being married is a great thing. I'm all for it. I think you have to find the right person. And so I had a lot of difficulty trying to find the right person for me. And then, but I think what also has to happen is you have to have your life together. My life wasn't really together. I'm living out of boxes. Like you can't build anything living out of boxes. So for me, I think, you have to, and for people in general, I think you got to have your life together before you can introduce somebody else and kind of co-create.
Yeah. Aside from just finances, what do you think constitutes as having your life together as a young man?
Well, I think finances is a big one, and I think your kind of mental health is another one. You got to really know what you're trying to go for here. And I think that women have it a lot tougher than men these days because, women are trying to find a guy that, can lead the family. And most of the guys are just lost, right? You have the highest percentage of males at, under 35 living at home than ever before in history. You have the least amount of people buying homes together. You have the least amount of people getting married ever before in history. Everyone's now just cohabitating. And that doesn't really breed a great society. So I think that, if you're a guy out here today, you've really got to think about your plan, and you got to think about what you're trying to do economically to get yourself in the best position that you can, to where you can take on responsibility. See, right now you got people that they can't hold their own, so they partner up with somebody who they can't hold their own. Now you got two people that can't hold their own, even though they think that, no, now we're together, we got dual income. You ain't got dual shit. You got two people that can't keep it together, right? And then those two people that can't hold their own have kids, and they're freeloaders now. Kids ain't giving you any money, and they're sucking you dry, right? So you're in this situation now. You got daycare and diapers and this and that, and you got two people, and next thing you know, it explodes. And you get divorced. And the number one reason people get divorced in this country is money. Number one reason. Number one reason is money, and the second is communication, and the third is kids. So let's back to my story. It's it's true. And that's what ends up happening. And they think, they're not thinking ahead. Nobody's thinking ahead.
Yeah, I think that's why, to be honest with you, I have not settled at this point in my life.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
Oh, so you're a young guy, bro.
Well, I got time. I know I have time as well. Although
you got a lot of time. I got a lot of time. Like if I was single, 49, dude, I got all fucking day long.
Yeah,
I got all fucking day long. And look, here's the thing: as a guy, this is the thing. As a guy, you've got the competitive advantage, right? Because the older you get, the more money you make. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so your ability to provide just gets better and better and better and better.
Mm. Do you think that attracts a better partner, though?
Absolutely. Statistically, it does. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why you see guys that just they would never have a beautiful woman on their arm, have beautiful women all over them, because they're survival. Women are not about the visual as much as men. Women don't give a shit, dude. They really don't. They really don't care. Like a girl, like a guy could come to a party with a girl that works at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Okay, and has a car that's missing a windshield. And if she's beautiful, all his friends are like, damn, where did you meet her? And he'll be like, Dunkin' Donuts, dude. Next thing you know, all of them running to Dunkin' Donuts. Okay? Women don't care. Okay? Women don't care. Men care. Men have the visual thing, and she's got to be beautiful, and she's got to be this, and she's got to be all that stuff. Women, no. That's why you see, women with guys that would never touch them if they didn't have the resources to provide. It's not a big thing for women. It's not. Now, if you're rich and you're good looking, well, now you're a unicorn. But if you're just, if you're a rich guy and you're wealthy and you know how to take care of yourself and you're an ethical guy, and you're not out here, making a mess everywhere and doing drugs and doing all that stuff, you got the pick of the litter.
Mm-hmm. If you're enjoying this podcast, you will love the Gentleman's Digest. This is our weekly newsletter sent straight to your inbox, packed with insights and recommendations. You'll find the link to become a reader in the description. I did see, I was I'm in Marbella right now in Spain. A lot of very beautiful women in this place, very glamorous. And I was in the cafe doing some research for this, and I saw, I think you were with somebody else who was saying, if I was a woman, I wouldn't be splitting the bill. I'd be getting him to pay for me. I would be getting the lift there, and I thought, you know what? I totally agree. If I was a woman, I would be 100% like that. Yeah,
and I'm being real. Like I've got a daughter, Victoria, and I'm having another one. And my message to them, I'm raising them to be great mothers and great wives. Like I'm not going to be like, hey, this independent bullshit. Like, look, the reality is she's in a different position because her dad is good, right? Like I'm always going to take care of her. You know what I mean? Like she's got nothing to worry about. However, my message to her is you need to find somebody that has resources. Because love doesn't pay the bills, dude. Love doesn't pay the bills. It just doesn't.
Indirectly, how much do you think being married has actually helped you be more successful since you met her?
Oh, dude, like I think I quantified it. I did a video. I think it was in 3 years. In 3 years after I got together with Huli, my business grew 237%. Now the question is why? Okay. The reason it did. Theory? Well, it's not a theory. It's really a fact. Like the minute I locked in, and I had somebody at home that was there to help me, not there to give me problems, not there to create fights and arguments and all that stuff, but just to support me. Dude, I locked in. Mm-hmm. So like I'm not spending 3 hours a day arguing with some chick. I'm not spending 2 hours a day introverted because we had a fight last night. Like we don't fight. We've never had a fight. There's never been a day that I come to work and I'm introverted and thinking about something that I need to handle with her because blah, blah, blah. Like it's zero. Like it's never happened. So I get up in the morning and I'm at the office at 7, 8 o'clock and I'm fucking grinding, dude. Like I'm annihilating everybody in my path because they don't have the same piece. Mm-hmm. They don't have the same piece. Like there's somebody else that's there that's a single guy. He's probably spending 2-3 hours texting with some broad and doing this shit and doing that shit. I'm grinding. So I'm 2 hours up every single day. So all that stuff adds up, and eventually you come out like the gap is this.
Yeah,
that's why all these successful guys are married, man. You don't see Trump and fucking Jeff Bezos and all that with like a harem of chicks, side broads and shit. They don't have any of that stuff, man. They're locked in. Zuckerberg and all these guys can have the most beautiful women in the world every single day. Can have a new chick. Every single day. And they don't because they're locked in. They're like, I don't want that shit. I mean, at the end of the day, that shit gets old. It's like, what do you want?
Yeah, I very much kind of ignored that side of my life for the last 2 years because I deliberately set, it's the lowest priority. But also I'm a human being has a modicum of social skills. So I do meet women and I would go on dates and we'd, be together for like 2-3 months and then things fizzle out or whatever. And I realized that is like...
That's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time. I could be building all of the positives that came from that as well. I could have built something real with the right person.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. Complete and utter waste of time. Yeah, all that shit, been there, done that, complete fucking waste of time. You're just wasting time. If you know it's not like when I got together with Huli, I married her 3 months after we got together.
Wow.
Because I knew this was the right chick. I just knew. Yeah. I knew this was the right chick.
There's a gut instinct there, but if you were advising somebody else on what they should look for or what they should feel about that relationship to actually
man or woman.
Marriage, it's a man and he's met this girl and he's thinking about.
Okay, well, you either know or you don't. It's kind of back to that business thing, right? Like, if you're trying to, if you think you should start the business and you're asking your uncle and Tommy and Sally and Jimmy if you should, then you're not ready. You're not confident. You're not ready. Like it's kind of like, do you second guess when you're hungry? Have you ever asked somebody, "Hey, dude, am I hungry?" What do you mean, dude? I don't know, man. I think I'm hungry. Have you ever asked anybody if you're hungry? No. And the reason you don't ask is you're hungry.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there like, should I marry her? That's wrong chick. Move on to the next one. Wrong chick. Like out.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But that takes.
I do, yeah.
That takes decisiveness. Is she going to become the right chick? You know what the answer is? No. No. Is she going to grow into being the right chick? No. The answer is no. Ain't going to happen, dude. You're either the right person on face value or you're not. Okay? And I tell people this all the time. I said, if you like this girl, are you willing to marry her and be with her today, or are there parts of her that you're not comfortable with that you want to wait and see, or you think you can change? Okay. If you think you can change somebody, like, well, I really love her, but this and this and this, then it's not the right person. Then you're doing a disservice to that person, because first of all, you're not going to change them. You don't know if they want to change. They're probably completely happy with the way that they do stuff. Yeah. So you can't go. It's just a loss. You're going into a loss leader, like a loss leader every single time. If you don't like the person on face value, don't do it.
Obviously, it takes a few weeks at least to really suss that out and to really get that solid.
I mean, look,
feeling.
if you, I would agree. Maybe a month or two. But what my point is that if month 2 or 3, dude, then you're just hanging out to hang out. You're just hanging out. I'm gonna hang out.
Yeah. Aside from relationships, I want to talk about a couple of things that also affect your life as an entrepreneur and therefore your business, even though if it's a little bit more indirect. How much of a role has a health and fitness played in your journey, and how much has that changed over time?
I think it's played a big role. Like, I've always been a very energetic person. Like, I have a lot of energy, and like I go just all day, and I don't really follow like a specific diet or something. I intermittent fast sometimes. I exercise, but I don't do anything crazy. Like, I'm not running like 5Ks and stuff. Like, I'm not doing triathlons and all that stuff. I just, but I think you have to take care of your body because you're using it all the time.
Yeah, this high energy concept comes up a lot with the entrepreneurs that I speak to. I did a podcast right before this with one of the co-founders of Pandora. This guy is nearly 60, and it's like he's just had 3 espressos,
Yeah.
Do you think that trait is something that people can develop or like nurture within themselves?
I do. I think you as a person, like, I don't want to get too philosophical and spiritual, but I think you as a spirit produce your own energy. So, I think you can just create energy like that. Look, you're not energy, you're creating energy. So if you kind of think with that concept that you can kind of create your own energy, like you're not, does that make sense? So I think like there's some people that they're just energetic. Like they're creating energy. Like, I think you're not designed to be like this lethargic person, like, tired because you worked fucking 8 hours or whatever. Like, it's not real.
I think it depends on what you're doing. Like, when you find your lane and you love what you're doing, it's very easy to be super energetic about it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, but again, it kind of, to me, look, business is very spiritual in that sense, right? Like, if you're doing something you don't love, you don't want to do, you're not going to win. Like, you have to be spiritually tough to succeed in business, because it'll beat you down. It can.
Yeah. I think there's also a difference between doing what you love on a bigger scale and you love the direction and what you're creating, but people sometimes you start doing day-to-day things that you don't really love. Like, I don't want to do this spreadsheet, or I don't really want to do this email. And then you start to question your passion, But it's like, even the guys in Motley Crue probably didn't like rehearsing, but they're still doing what
James,
they
that's
love.
normal. I mean, 70-80% of the shit I do all day long, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. Like, sometimes I got to get up first thing in the morning. I got to make an uncomfortable call, or I got to let somebody go, or I got to do this, or I got to handle that, or I got to get on a 3-hour this or whatever. It's like, it's not like you wake up every day and all you're doing is things that you love and everything is, fucking hunky dory. Like, that's not real.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff I do during the day-to-day is stuff I don't want to do. 80% is stuff I don't want to do. But that's what it takes to be successful, right? Most people will design their life to where they don't have any of that stuff. Like they're not putting themselves in a position that they got to be uncomfortable.
What are the things that really feel like just super easy flow state kind of stuff for you?
I mean, I think for the most part, well, I mean, just look, running day-to-day stuff and brainstorming and all that stuff and expanding is like flow, when you're kind of in the stream, the stream of consciousness, you're just kind of just like flowing. But that's not a big part of your day as an entrepreneur. Mm. It's just not. Most of your day is pain. It's just pain. It's just you got to deal with the stuff that nobody wants to deal with. It kind of it distills up.
How do you think you can get a better perspective from more of a bird's eye point of view of working on the business, strategizing, being creative, if you are grinding away 12 hours a day on the laptop? Like, how do you give yourself that space to actually think more on a higher level?
Yeah, no, well, that's a great question. And I talk about that a lot. Like I'm a big advocate for working on the business. And I've always worked on the business since day one. I never really worked in the business, even to this day. Working in the business is not smart. You got to work on the business. Like every decision I make is, okay, how can I make this business, this organism run without me? How can I make this business flourish and prosper with having the right people around me? Right? Like I don't call on, like we see, let's say 250,000 patients a year, mm-hmm. if not more than that. And we have 50,000 physicians and practices across the country that refer us business in 44 states. And I don't see or talk to any of them. And so that means that my company does not revolve around me. Like we have 625 employees and I talk to 4 or 5 people. That's it.
Mm. In the early days, was there a stage when you were literally just doing everything by hand, by yourself?
No, because that was the reason why I never made any money, because I was trying to set up the infrastructure. Like, I don't know how to do anything here, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that to be funny, but it's like, I don't know how to schedule patients and I don't know how to do this and do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't know. I've never logged into the system. Like I don't, that's not my thing. Like, I don't know how to do that. If you called the office today and said, you want to schedule a sleep test, I'd be like, Lindsay, can you grab this? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And, some people may think, well, that's horrible. How can you be that? How can you be the CEO? You don't want to do that. I mean, okay, that's your train of thought. But Steve Jobs, who wasn't a coder, he went to school for fonting, typography. He wasn't an engineer. He wasn't a materials guy. He wasn't any of that stuff. But he was kind of an architect of putting all the people in the right place to be able to get the products that he wanted. And I kind of follow that schematic.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs, if they have a profitable business, they have to make a choice between giving themselves a very well-paid job where they're not really delegating, but they're keeping all of the cash flow, versus, I'm actually going to delay a bit of that gratification. I'm not just going to spend all of the money that I make on my rent and my car. I'm going to allow us the room to hire people and grow. And that's really where my mindset is at for this year.
Same.
With Gentleman's
I've
Collective.
invested every dollar that I've ever made back into the business. Every dollar I made, I put it back in the business. So invested it back in the business, back in the brand. It's all one.
At what point, I hope this isn't too personal, at what point did you start saving money for yourself and buying property just for yourself and really focusing more on your personal finances?
I mean, I've never done it. I've never done it because, the return that I get investing in my company doesn't even come close to real estate. I mean, it doesn't even come close. Not that real estate's bad, but, if I told you the kind of returns that we get in healthcare as opposed to real estate, you would probably sell all your real estate holdings.
Yeah, I think it's a
Right.
very difficult
So-
thing for people to get their head around, isn't it? If they're not.
Well, ask
In that
how
kind
much
of
real
vehicle.
estate does Warren Buffett own in his portfolio? It's less than 1%.
Yeah.
How much real estate does Elon Musk own? Doesn't own any. He don't own any. He doesn't own any real estate. So, there's different trains of thoughts here, obviously. But if you look at the statistical ways of generating wealth, why is the number one investor in the world only have real estate holdings of 1% or less? It's because businesses produce more wealth because the appreciation is significantly higher. The rates of return are significantly higher. Granted, you have a successful company, you have to go through all of that first, right? You can't have an unsuccessful company. But if you have a successful company and that provides a great product or service, the level of wealth and appreciation that can generate is like here to real estate's here. It's like it's not even on the chart.
I think the difference is a lot of people don't have that thing that they believe in more than they can believe in the market
Right.
or the housing.
Right. So real estate's a great thing. And then you have people that make a tremendous amount of wealth and then they diversify and they buy real estate and it gives them tax advantages and all that stuff. But if you look at all the recent multimillionaires, billionaires on the planet, less than 1 or 2% of them have created that wealth through real estate. It's been through companies. And so I'm an advocate for companies. I think there need to be more companies that provide better products and services, and particularly in healthcare. And I think if somebody really dedicates themselves and provides a great product or service, the sky's the limit. The sky really is the limit.
Yeah. And you know what? It's so fun. For me, I think it's the most fun journey. Like, I don't get to create a universe if I buy a house. Okay, I get to refurbish it and rent it, whatever. I get to make something out of nothing when I start a brand or I find a product and I want to sell that. Like, this tie did not exist before I decided that it would exist.
Right.
2 months later, it comes back from Italy and it exists. I love that feeling.
Yeah, that's great. And so, that's why most of us do what we do. Because we want to have that feeling of something that we created that is now kind of here. It's like you can touch it.
Yeah, that's why it's a baby, quite literally.
Pretty much, it always is. It's always your baby.
Let's talk about staying focused versus distracted. How does somebody know when it is legitimately time to change course and when they just have shiny object syndrome and they can't stay focused?
It's a good question. I think you have to really be paying attention to the market. I think there's different, depending on what industry you're in, there's factors where there's sometimes a paradigm shift that's happening, like kind of what happened with Blockbuster Video and Netflix. There was a shift happening. It was a visible shift, but Blockbuster didn't think that they needed to get in front of that shift. And so I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be very careful to make sure you're really paying attention to those shifts in the marketplace. And you're not just, being overconfident about the fact that you don't have to do a shift. Because sometimes, and that's the thing about business and life, is you got to be fluid. You got to be, you can't say, well, this is my thing and I'm never going to quit on this thing. And it doesn't work that way. You got to be fluid. You got to move. You got to adjust a little bit to what's happening, because at the end of the day, the only person that can fire a CEO is the customer.
Mm-hmm. What do you think some of the biggest paradigm shifts either happening now or coming up are?
I think the biggest paradigm shifts now that are happening, obviously, is AI, and I think robotics. I think AI is going to fuel robotics, and I think that in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see a huge surge in nano robotics. But in robotics in general, I think you're going to have a huge shift. Like the nano robotics, in terms of the theses that people are writing, like having these nanobots in your body that can handle this and that and all these little things that are the size of a red blood cell, they're real. Like it's happening. And I think that the AI is going to fuel a lot of that. That's going to start to bring that about. I mean, the robots, like you've seen it with TVs, you've seen it with computers, and you can take all this computing power and you put it into something this big. I think that's going to be the next thing.
What about in terms of people's attitudes as consumers and what they actually just want to purchase and experience?
Say that again. Sorry, you cut out.
For consumers and products in the marketplace, what do you feel like are some of the biggest changes happening right now in terms of what people expect?
I think people are spoiled, and I think like in a good way, not in a bad way. I think people are spoiled in a good way. I think, you've got so many amazing products and services that are out there today that, like, you have these beautiful things like these products, and, it's like phones and this and that and cars, and there's things that are just like amazing. Like the craftsmanship of things are amazing. I think if you don't have a great product or service these days, you're going to lose, because somebody's going to provide a better product or service.
Mm-hmm. And for the people that come to the live events that you do, or people that interact with your pages, what kind of business models do you find that they are most interested in today?
The business model that nobody has to work. Like everybody wants everything like easy. Everybody wants everything easy. Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to get in front of somebody. Nobody wants to do any of that stuff. Everybody's like, hey, how can I make, X amount of dollars per month sitting on my laptop at my house?
Yeah.
You start talking to somebody about building a company and hiring employees and building a team and all that stuff, and it's like people don't know. They don't know what to do.
Do you think that sometimes comes as well from they want to create a business that funds a certain lifestyle rather than they actually want to create a business because they want to have an impact on people?
Yeah, I think most people, everyone's different. There's some people that just want to create a business because they want to make money, fund their lifestyle. And there's some people that want to make a business because they really want to make a difference. And they're not as money driven. Obviously they want to live well and they want to do good, but they're not as money driven. I fall more into that bracket. Like I want to build something special. I want to have a great company. And, it's not, I don't have this idea or never did that. It's like, I just want to build a company to fund some sort of lifestyle like that. That's not what I want to do.
Yeah. I love to ask this question to people that have been very successful and have been able to enjoy a certain lifestyle. What have been some of the best purchases that you've made along the way? And what are some of the things that you bought and thought, you know what, this really isn't as good as I thought?
Nothing that I bought that I never thought wasn't as good as I thought. I think the best purchase, that I made, I think for my family was the plane. Just because, we travel a lot back and forth to Medellin, Colombia, because we have an office there. And, before I had to, I was flying there and going by myself, and then I would miss my kids and my wife and all that stuff. So now I can just put everybody in the plane and go, and really makes for a way better experience. And I'm able to really stay there and focus and work hard for weeks at a time, and then come back. And it just makes it easier. And I don't spend a whole day traveling.
Everybody that has a plane has said the plane when I've asked them that question.
Yeah, I mean it's a time saver. It's a huge convenience if you use it right, and it allows you to be way more productive, significantly more productive.
I saw you smoking a stogie in your Rolls Royce recently. What's your relationship like with cigars? How long have you been enjoying those for?
I've been smoking since I was little, man. I mean, since I was like 18 years old, I've been smoking cigars, and I love it. I love it. I smoke every opportunity I get, and I love it. And when I travel, I take my cigars with me, and I love it. You smoke?
I do. I'm a big fan. I got into it about 3 years ago, probably. And the reason I love it so much, maybe you relate to this, is when I smoke a cigar, I don't really do anything else typically. It's like genuine just reflection and relaxation time in a way that I never experienced with anything else. It was a pleasure speaking with you, Vic.
Yeah,
Thank you so
likewise,
much for making
man.
time.
Likewise. If you're ever in Tampa, hit us up. We'll have you in the studio.
We'll have a cigar. That would be cool.
And we'll do it in the studio.
Perfect.
All right,
Thank
awesome,
you, man. Have
man.
a great rest of your day.
Nice meeting you. You too.
Take care. If you're enjoying this podcast, you might like to know that we also have a private members club for like-minded modern gentlemen all over the world. You'll find the link to apply in the description.